Now take a test drive with Viptela SD WAN solution. So, unlike other SD-WAN vendors, most of the SD-WAN vendors that we have studied, they use fully mesh network model. Viptela is using a hub and spoke type topology, and I will explain in a minute what exactly are these two different topologies. So if you see at the diagrams on the right-hand side, the first one, the top diagram is showing you the mesh topology, and the bottom one is hub and spoke topology. So the bottom topology is used by Viptela, and majority of the other SD-WAN vendors, they are using the mesh topology. So now if you see how many links or how many tunnels do you have in mesh topology and how many tunnels you have in the hub and spoke. So hub and spoke has less number of tunnels as compared to mesh. In mesh, every location is connected to every other location. So when you have certain number of tunnels, it can impact your CPU, your memory, and your other resources. So if you look at the second box on this slide, so let's say if you have n number of sites, right? A full mesh requires n into n minus 1 divided by 2 links. Those are the total number of links you need for n number of sites. So let's take an example, a modest number of sites. Say you have 10 branch offices. So if you put this number 10 in the formula, you will have to have 45 IPsec tunnels. So with just 10 branches, you have to have 45 IPsec tunnels. That's already unmanageable. So imagine if you have hundreds or thousands of branch offices, it would be impossible to maintain CPU and memory resources for all devices.
Yeah,
so
Faisal, this formula doesn't add up. So it's 10 times 10 minus 1 is 9. 45 divided by 2.
So 10 times 9 is 90. 90 divided by 2 is 45.
Oh, I can't do math. Sorry.
So that's the selling point of Viptela, that their model is hub and spoke, and so when you add a certain number of branches, it doesn't impact the control plane of the SD-WAN solution that Viptela provides.
So let me ask you this. So when we're going to go with this slide to the customer and present this, so we are saying that you are saving on IPsec tunnels, but somebody else is selling the solution which is up there, mesh technology. How
you're
not saving anything. These tunnels are virtual tunnels. They are not physical circuits.
No. So I'm saying somebody else is selling the idea of mesh network, right? As you just said that we do hub and spoke, others do mesh, correct?
Mm-hmm. Not
so
we.
I'm asking that.
It's Cisco.
Yeah.
Cisco solution. Cisco Viptela solution.
Viptela, yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what we are representing them right here. So that's what I mean. So if somebody else is going with the mesh technology, how they will counter argue with our solution? So some customer will ask that why, or somebody will say that what is the downside in the hub and spoke compared to the mesh?
Okay, so
there is no downside in hub and spoke. Downside is on the fully mesh solution. So when you have hundreds of branches, then your fully meshed solution doesn't scale well, because it put a lot of your resources, the CPU resources, memory resources, they get impacted with that number of tunnels. So you have to keep the information about that many tunnels in your the controller memory or the CPU, so it gets exhausted. So
Faisal, can I add something to this to explain this?
Yeah.
So Tariq, remember this. So I have 10 branches, as Faisal has highlighted, right? 10 branches. Branch 1 wants to talk to branch 2, right? So what will happen is in an SD-WAN solution, branch 1 knows how to get to branch 2. Instead,
Yeah.
if you have a traditional IPsec tunnel, it has to come to the core or the data center, clear through there, flip into the other VPN tunnel, and go there. Now, what
Okay.
you're doing
Okay.
is you've added additional hops, and what you're doing is that device, which is your core VPN device, is doing all the routing and traffic.
Right.
Additional hops
Right.
plus CPU utilization on that. So
Right.
similarly, if you do MPLS, MPLS knows exactly how to get from branch 1 to branch 2.
Mm.
That's why
Okay.
it's cheap. It's easier to do it. SD-WAN flips it and allows you to do the same as MPLS will allow you to do.
Okay. Thank you.
I just want to
Faisal,
be
I have
cautious
another
here.
question. You said the other companies are using the mesh and we are using the hub and spoke. And our solution, like not the Viptela solution, is much more economical or is less, the resource affecting solution. But the other solutions are selling much more in the business wise in different companies like Willow Cloud and Silver Peak and all these companies. So they are selling. So if that's the case, so why the Viptela is not picking up? Why the Viptela is not the highest sale right now?
Haris, this is a purely sales and marketing question. I'm not expecting a sales and marketing question here. It's just the technical discussion. So it depends on a lot of factors like how they are, how the market approach is, and how the different vendors are approaching the companies and how they are selling their products. I have no insight in that, but here we are just talking about the technical stuff.
Yeah. Haris, I think if maybe we're gonna have to do that somewhere else exercise, but it looks like that there is more hardware.
I was just having some curiosity, like because this is a very the difference between the other, because you said all the mesh is taking a lot of resources.
So one thing is mesh is fine as long as your network is small. If you are implementing
the area where we can discuss later on. Okay, go ahead, Faisal.
So one thing to add to Haris' question is that, Haris, the mesh topology is fine as long as you have less number of branch offices, but if you exceed the certain limits, then you start seeing the problem. So initially companies, they don't know how this whole thing will behave once they start adding up the branch offices. At one point, they feel like the network is getting slow and they are having issues. So
I think that's where we if we can possibly provide a consulting service that for the size of your company, does it make even sense to go to Viptela or stay on the current solution, or I think depending on the number of nodes and office locations, something like that, maybe later.
all right, so the Viptela SD-WAN is called as Secure Extensible Network, and there are 5 key architecture elements in Viptela solution. I mean, there are more, but these are the top 5 highlighted elements that I have provided here. So the first one is it enables transport independence. So you can have any type of transport physical connectivity based on MPLS, broadband, LTE, or even Ethernet. Whatever kind of connectivity you have, it can run on any kind of physical transport. It automatically secure the routed endpoints, because when you bring up any Viptela device on the network, it creates TLS or DTLS or IPsec tunnel. These are all secure tunnels, so it's secure end-to-end automatically. As soon as you bring up the device, it automatically creates these tunnels. It also provides you network segmentations, like in the form of VPNs. So if you want one branch office to to be part of one VPN, another branch office to be part of another VPN, and you don't want any communication between these two branches, then you can keep them in two different VPNs, and that's how you can segment the traffic. Or even in the same branch office, you can create multiple VPNs to segment traffic between different departments. So this is one of the features. And then you can enforce all the policies from a centralized controller. You don't have to go to each individual device and configure any policies over there. The last one is advertisement of network services. So if you have any services in your traditional network like firewall, IDS, IPS, you can also advertise those services in the overlay network. So let's say, take an example. If you have your firewall in the headquarters, right, in the main data center, but the other branch offices, they don't have any physical firewall over there, and you want them that this branch traffic should go through the firewall before it exit out on the internet. Let's say this is one of the requirements. So you can advertise this firewall from the data center in the overlay network, and you can configure a policy for that particular branch office that any traffic that is generating from that branch office, it should go through this firewall and then it go out on the internet. So this is one of the features. And then there are four main things which make up the Viptela SD WAN solution. One is the secure architecture. Second is the fabric operations. Third is the application policies. And fourth is cloud capabilities. Now we'll look into all these four components one by one.